Yeah. We're on the move. We're on the move. Yeah. Ain't no stopping us now. Hey, I know you thought Marvin Gaye was in here. No, this is Empire Talks Back. I'm Wallace Allen, the son of Ruth and Wallace, not Marvin Gaye. I try to sound like him, but I know you know better. But all of that to say, boy, folks are out here trying to fool you. They are definitely trying to fool you, boy. The truth is at a premium. The truth is worth more than all of that gas, the price of gas. And it's almost as hard to find. Where is the truth? Well, many times the truth is behind, what you want it to be. We always look for perfection. We think that the world, we're entitled. The world is so perfect that we think everything that comes to us should be perfect. 6 is 9. Jimmy saying about it, when 6 becomes 9, 9 becomes 6. Things they turn themselves upside down. And if you expect things to go the way you want them to go all the time, you're lying to yourself. And so if you lie to yourself, certainly you've got to expect other people to lie to you as well. Now, to me, the lie is when someone knows that they're telling you something that's not true. In this world that we live in, people lie to you out of their own ignorance. They pass information along as though they were there. They saw it. They know but so we have to be able to do a little critical thinking. We can't let our desires for people to be correct and right in handing us the truth. We can't let that desire for transparency fool us into thinking we have it just because we want it. And the other aspect of that is, why should you or I get the total truth without working for it? And when we work for it, will we ever get the total truth? I think only time lives to see the total truth. But the truth that's available to us to go forward as we go forward is important. And often that truth that we are using to go forward isn't really the truth, but it is a truth. Get it? The truth and a truth. It's true. Today's weather is today's weather. But that doesn't tell you what tomorrow's weather's going to be, or the day after. And I compliment the weatherman and the technology. They tend to be pretty correct. But they're so correct that when they tell us and I believe, truth about the future and the weather, we can depend on them to tell us about, the weather tomorrow, next week, and, we'll set our clothes up, if we have them, to adhere to that. But when the weatherman tells us that the climate change is affecting the weather to the point that it's not predictable, and the prediction that it gives us is one of catastrophe, Fort Lauderdale 2-3 days ago. They called it, once in a 1,000-year rain. Yeah, we weren't here 1,000 years ago, so you don't know if it rained like that 1,000 years ago. But you can listen to our weather people and scientists who say climate change is causing some very different weather patterns. But we don't want to hear that truth, because that truth tells us we've got to make adjustments in our life. Well, most truths will do that. You're going to have to make adjustments. You're going to have to think. You're going to have to figure it out. I received something from my bank warning me about scams, people trying to take my money. Well, I don't want that to happen. So what should I do? Well, they're going to fool you. They're going to try to, but what should I do? What it always boils back down to is I have to think a little bit, need to slow down a little bit and figure out what's really important. There's a big difference between what's interesting and what's important. The things that are interesting are very, very interesting and distracting, and they will stop you from doing the things that are important. I mean, we got some great basketball games this afternoon. Boy, I tell you what, as far as the NBA is concerned, you need to watch each and every one of those games from beginning to end. Some of us will. I won't, not because I don't want to, but because I know that every time that there's a big list of things that I want to do, it's comforting because it hides the big list of things that I need to do. Did it? Attractive things make you come up with great reasons to not do what you need to do, because these things are so attractive, they make you want to do them. What's wrong with me watching the game all day? I don't know. May not be nothing wrong with you watching the game. But is the fence broken, or does it need to be fixed? Are the floors dirty, or do they need to be mopped? Are all of your schedule made, or do you need to make a schedule? I don't know. But I'll tell you this. We've got some interesting things going on in the community, and I think you need to decide which is important and what's interesting. And some of these things are very important in that they will help build your community, make your community stronger, make you more informed. And then there's those things that will just be fun. Remember that fun you had 4 years ago at the, you can't even remember the place. Can't remember. Spent that money, can't even remember, but you had a good time. But your house needs to be painted, or your job needs to be done better. Listen, if you think you can spot a scam, great. I'm going to talk about some scams later on as we go through some things that you need to watch out for, in general and in specific, and as well as talk to some people who are, once again, doing things in the community that are socially redeeming and good for you and good for me. So we're going to take a short break. We're going to come back and we'll talk to, I think we're going to talk to Kathy Hayes about her community business marketplace event. I know that we're going to talk to Miss Deborah Williams about the Faith Leaders Breakfast that's taking place this coming weekend. And don't forget, you've got the reparations workshops this coming Saturday, Friday, and Saturday, so you don't want to miss those. This is Empire Talks Back. I'm Wallace Allen. We're here on the case for truth and justice, along with my friend, the great Anthony Garcia, the mood master. You hear him giving me this stuff that makes me feel like Marvin Gaye or whomever. Good stuff. Good to see you, Ant. All right, we'll be right back after this short break.
Publish your legal notice in West Side Story newspaper. For the best service and the best rates, call 909-384-8131. Publishing legal notices in the city and county of San Bernardino since 1990. West Side Story provides friendly expert service. Call 909-384-8131 to benefit from budget-friendly rates. Whether a fictitious business name, a name change, a divorce summons, or any other legal or public notice, call West Side Story newspaper 909-384-8131. 909-384-8131. That's 909-384-8131.
All right, we're back. This is Empire Talks Back. I'm Wallace Allen, here on the case for truth, justice, with the right information to help improve the situation. And the situation, it's not the worst that I've seen. Well, what do you mean? Well, I was a young lad, but I saw the Emmett Till results. Marked my life. Injustice to the bone, but it's something that makes me remember. It wasn't a good time. This is a terrible time. But it was a good time in the sense that it taught me a lesson, is that everything you plan for won't work the way you necessarily want it to work, and you're going to have to figure it out. Kathy Hayes. Kathy's on the phone with us this morning. Kathy, how are you? I can't hear you. Hello, Kathy? See what I mean about planning things? You don't always get what you want. Kathy?
Yes, how you doing?
See, you just made a perfect example for me. Sometimes you get what you want, but you don't always get it when you want it. I was trying to talk to you about 5 seconds before I could, so I tried it, didn't work. How are you doing, Kathy? I'm talking to you because you are an entrepreneur, an event planner, and a doer, someone who makes something out of nothing on an ongoing basis. And you've got something set up for April 22nd, Saturday, this Saturday coming up. It's called
Yes.
Community Business Marketplace. What made you decide to put this together?
Well, I got a sponsorship to the city of Fontana.
Yeah, you didn't
And,
get the sponsorship till after you had the idea. They didn't just call you and say, "Hey, Kathy, we got some money. Let's do." You had to do something beyond.
Well, my
that.
thing,
You try to
long
make it
time
sound
ago, I wanted
so
to do this.
easy. It's not that easy.
Yeah.
So
long time
go ahead.
long time ago, I did a concert in the park. It was in Upland, and I wanted to do something out here in Fontana. And so I decided, well, we can't call it really a concert in the park because they already have many of those. So we want to do a community, especially with the COVID thing, just kind of getting over with. We want to do something to bring the community together in the city of Fontana. But we want to take from all the other cities surrounding the Rialto, San Bernardino, Upland, Rancho Cucamonga, Riverside, just everybody come over. And let's do one big community business marketplace.
Okay.
So that's what we named it. And we said, well, let's just invite everybody. But kind of like on Fontana's ticket with this event, we actually going to pull it off. We had to put it off for a couple of weeks because of the weather. We had all this rain, and before we had wind. And so this weekend, looks like it's going to be a beautiful weekend. It's free admission. It's free parking. But we're going to give some giveaways. We got some nice door prizes. We have free tennis shoes for the kids, some cute little jean skirts for the little girls, and some coloring books and crayons and chalk for them to walk on the right on the sidewalk with. We have the band, R&B band, Big, which several have reserved tables for them to actually come out and listen to the band. A lot more entertainment with our two hosts. We have Ardell Evans and we have Floyd Milner. They're both going to co-host the event. And we have food trucks. We have the Shaved Ice Guy, the taco truck. Boogie Down Barbecue from LA is coming out. So we're going to have a great time. So
And
it's free admission.
And you have some vendors, business vendors.
Oh, all kinds of business vendors and people selling all different types of things, art, clothes, and jewelry, and things like that. We have sponsors that sponsor the shoes. Heart to Heart, they actually came out with also First Five, my church, Bethel AME. We have the Fontana Exchange Club. We have the Quadas of Fontana also. So, it's going to be a great event.
So, Kathy, you have just demonstrated and talked to us about large community organizations, small community organizations, big businesses, small businesses. How do you get to meet and know about all of these people? What drives you to get involved enough to put your name, your money, your time on the line to present, to put together community-based events? Yeah.
To me, it just comes from all within. I've been doing events for many, many years and putting together these events. Sometimes they say, well, hey, you know what? Is it a business or a hobby? I just love to do it. So, I just take both of those and put them together and actually pull off events. And I've been doing it for a certain time.
Why
It
does
keeps,
why
it keeps
does
growing.
why does the community, as you describe it, need to come together?
Because after that pandemic we had, we were all separated, spread out in our homes and locked in like we're, locked in jail or whatever. So now we need to come back with our businesses and share what we have, communicate, and just, be involved with each other again. Hopefully we'll be more successful than we were before the pandemic.
Now, what does success mean, Kathy? I mean,
Uh,
what I'm looking at and what I'm always preaching about is the fact that if we see a need to get something done, there's a couple of attitudes available. One of them is, why don't they do, or why don't they ever have, or when are they going to? And then there's people like you who say, wow, when can I? Oh, I think I want to. Oh, I am going to do. What's the difference in taking charge and looking for someone else to lead you? What's the difference in that? Why are you a person willing to take charge? What happened in your life to let you be willing to take charge? You
well,
didn't know I was going to get this deep, which I know it, but
yeah, but
but Kathy, this is what
it's like
I wonder about. When
when somebody has a dream and you picture in your mind you want to put something together, and then when you actually do it and you see it come through, then that's success. It's like you have actually made your dream come true. You have plans up, put it in your mind, put it in action. It has happened. So that dreams come true, right? So that means that's a success.
Do you have a
made it
vision?
happen.
Do you have a vision of what the community business marketplace on April 22nd, 2023 is going to look like? Have you seen that in your dream? Have you visualized that?
I visualized it. I wrote it all right. I mapped it out. If you've seen a little video I did on Facebook, I actually have my little clipboard there. I had it on paper. I showed my other volunteers and helpers what my vision was so they could see the same vision. And I have a vision of it going bigger and better. My whole thing is to actually have a actual African Village Day and then an African Village weekend. That's my vision.
Very good. Let me ask you this. As you've done what you've been doing all of these years, have you ever been sucker punched, caught in a scam somewhere where it wasn't what it seemed like it was going to be? Do you have anything in mind that you can think of that was scam-like that you can help warn the people about? We're going to take a short break and come back and give you a couple of minutes to finish that off, and as we look forward to our next guest. But Kathy Hayes, the inventor of the Community Business Marketplace, scheduled for April 22nd. This, Saturday, is going to take place, and you'll tell us all that when you come back. All right?
All right.
And we'll want to know, have you been scammed? Got anything you want to warn us about? We'll be right back.
Held down before. I know you refuse to be held down anymore.
Publish your legal notice in West Side Story newspaper. For the best service and the best rates, call 909-384-8131. Publishing legal notices in the city and county of San Bernardino since 1990. West Side Story provides friendly expert service. Call 909-384-8131 to benefit from budget-friendly rates. Whether a fictitious business name, a name change, a divorce summons, or any other legal or public notice, call West Side Story newspaper 909-384-8131. 909-384-8131. That's 909-384-8131.
We're back. I want to say hello to Roxanne. Hello to Joanne, my mother-in-law, my wife, Josephine, my mother, Ruth, my sister, Cheryl Gale, My daughters, Mishua and Delilah. Oh, man. My daughters, Dion and Tiffany. Wow, once you get started, it's really hard. I could go on the next hour because I'm blessed to have wonderful people in my family, wonderful people who fire me up, keep me going, and let me know on a daily basis that you're not perfect. You're not perfect. Even my grandbabies, Papa, I can tell, I can look in their eyes sometimes that, Papa, not now, you're not perfect. Don't be doing that slurber thing on my neck. Yeah. But it's love, and that's what we have. Kathy Hayes, you love what you do. I think you love your community. I think you love the invisible aspects of the world because you're willing to take a shot and a chance. Where's your event taking place?
It's at Jack Bullock Park in the Sports Pavilion there in Fontana. Saturday, April the 22nd. So next Saturday is the day. So Jack Bullock Pavilion.
Okay,
the address is 16581 Filbert Street in Fontana. 16581 Filbert Street, Fontana.
Kathy, what's the phone number they can use to call you for more information?
Area code 909-437-3391.
909-437-3391 for more information about this Saturday's event, the Community Business Marketplace. Kathy Hayes, you are an event producer, a community doer. Have you been scammed?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. And what happened?
We've all been scammed. Hey, it's one of those things when you hire someone to do a business for you, you think they're legit, and you give them a deposit, and they don't show up, and they don't give you your deposit back.
And how much time did you spend in jail after you caught up with them?
No.
Are you still looking for them?
Yeah, it's one of those things.
So how do you prevent that from happening again, Kathy?
Well, what I'm trying to do is I usually do an agreement with most of my vendors. And when I hire them, I get the information, where they are, and then legitimately just make sure that I have a correct cell phone number, etc.
You get all that information that Leroy can follow up on if they don't pay you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you got to be careful about Leroy because sometimes he doesn't do his job either.
Right.
But thinking about it before it takes place and figuring out exactly what you want and seeking an agreement is 90% of it, but that doesn't guarantee things. So you've got to have a lot of faith in your ability to fill the hole even when they take you off, because the solution is to remember it and not let it happen again like that, but don't let it linger and fester and poison your mind and prevent you from going forward. And certainly it hasn't done that to you. And Kathy Hayes, congratulations to us as a community for having you around to do what you do. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I don't know if I'll be there, but if I'm not, my heart and soul is there with you to support you. And you've got a couple of funny guys there. Dale Evans, he's from my hometown in Joliet, Illinois. I know he's got some experiences to share with you. And and Dr. Floyd, he's an audiologist. He helps you with your hearing problem.
Right.
And part of your hearing problem is going to be some of those crazy jokes he tells. You're going to wish you couldn't hear. But he's funny. He's definitely funny. So
I worked with both of them before
for
a while, certainly. So yeah, they're both good.
Well, Kathy, we know your tolerance for insanity is up there. So we appreciate you once again. God bless you, and good luck with your program. Break a leg.
All right. Thank you so much. If you can't make it, send the family out.
Well, some of my family will be there. You'll be able to tell because they'll be walking and talking.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
All right, great. I appreciate it.
Not a problem. Okay, folks, now we are talking about scams and things of that sort. The lady that we're going to talk to now, Ms. Deborah Williams, is with an organization called Building Resilient Communities. They work with the community before and after disasters and catastrophes, in that they want you to be prepared. They want you to understand that nothing is perfect, and that in our ability to predict, we can predict. We don't necessarily know when, but we can predict that there's going to be a problem and that you need to be prepared for it. Miss Deborah.
Good morning, Wallace.
Good morning. How are you? I understand that you have some new knees and you're getting ready to play in the NBA or something like that.
Everybody keeps saying you're now bionic, and I keep telling them that's not the truth.
Well,
I can't run faster or jump higher.
Didn't they tell you were going to be able to do that?
No, they did not say that.
Okay, so if you're not able to go dunk the basketball, you will not feel scammed by your knee operation.
No, not at all.
Okay, high expectations are, that sometimes they create great fulfillment, and sometimes they're very disappointing.
Well, I had my left knee done 7 years ago, and once I got through all the therapy and the pain, it's been wonderful. And that is my expectation for my right knee, that I will no longer have that original horrible pain that I had before I had the surgery.
Well, as we talk to people about catastrophe disasters and how we work back from them, it's not easy. You're going to be going through a rehab program. You're going to hit a few tears, because if you don't hit the pain, there won't be any gain. And you realize that because you've done it before.
Yeah, been there, done that. I'm in week. Tuesday will be week 8, and I'm actually doing incredibly well. So I would tell anybody, if you're not going to do the physical therapy, don't have the surgery.
Right, and it takes a lot, and it's the same thing that you talk about in your everyday business.
Yes.
And that's that you may find yourself in a very painful situation as a result of something that has occurred with the weather, with the fire, with any type of disaster. And as much as we can prepare for it, if it hits you, it's going to be very hard to come back.
Yeah.
And that's, I guess, the name. So tell us about building resilient communities.
Well, as you know, we've now been in existence since 2012, so time is marching on. And when we first started, we really had no clue what would be happening in the world right now. We were not having the kinds of disasters and things that we're seeing today. I mean, it just feels like such chaos, and before you can get over one disaster, another one strikes.
Well, when you get a car that you didn't have before, a certain kind of model, once you get that model, you start to see them everywhere.
Yeah.
I would suggest that you went into this situation, this business, this community operation, because there were already catastrophes, disasters taking place.
Yeah.
And there were already people who were having their lives totally changed because they were prepared or were not prepared. And now that you are in this business, I think because you're paying attention to it, and certainly there are more of them than in the past, but because you're paying attention, you see the need much greater. And as a result of that, you probably see solutions that are a lot closer if it wasn't so much thick skull between people's ears and their action point to do something. And I say that because as often as I've talked to you and as much as I know, Deborah, I still do not have in my car an emergency kit.
Okay. All right. So at this point, I'm going to get you one.
Well, the thing that I'm saying too is that just like I need one, my business and other businesses should participate in creating them for other people.
Yeah.
And it's just something that, as we advertise and promote ourselves, we ought to do something that's going to help assure ourselves of having some customers in the face of disaster, and so taking care of each other is really a selfish thing, if we look at it the way I look at it. So
Yeah, now that we've had a pandemic, I just don't see how anybody can not think that something else is going to happen and that we have to be prepared. And it would be better to be prepared even if nothing happened in the future than to experience what most people experienced, especially at the beginning of COVID. Lots of people now. I guess my biggest concern is that people are going to be complacent again and think, not only is COVID over, but fires, floods. Oh, this won't happen again. But that's just not the reality of where we are. If you think about, I used to think, wow, 100-year flood, biblical proportions, right? Wow, that's a lot. But then when you look at Fort Lauderdale, and they had a 1,000-year flood. These are things that we just can't even imagine.
Imagine the airport runway.
Yeah.
That big, the runway that's got to be 40, 50 acres.
Yeah.
5 feet of water.
Yeah.
That's a new lake. Who could expect that? Like the mayor said, who could plan for something like this?
Yeah. And us in California, the snow, the rain, to eliminate a drought that was the majority of the state down to, I think, right now about 9% of the state is in a drought. And lakes that hadn't been around for a century now are back.
Yes.
Who would ever, we just can't imagine it. And I think, Wallace, that's part of the problem, because we don't, especially in Southern California, we don't see the disasters, the hurricanes, the tornadoes, the things that they see in the Midwest,
Deborah,
and in the South on a regular basis. We just think it won't happen.
Yeah, that music says we're going to have to take a break. And just to reiterate what you're saying, I'm sitting here looking at the mountains, wonderful, beautiful snow from the valley. But then I look and find that the snow is covering up people's houses, suffocating them and making life totally miserable. This is what we end up doing often, is that we see something, but we don't see it deep enough to understand that, we may be in okay places and okay positions, but there's other folk at the same time who are being devastated and needing help and support.
Yeah.
That's something to think about. And so we want to talk more about your organization, how you help people, and what do we call disasters. And I'm sure that your parameters of who you thought you would be helping when you started has extended itself to helping a greater situation than you even imagined.
Yeah.
This is Empire Talks Back. I'm speaking with Deborah Williams, the CEO, Director of Building Resilient Communities. They'll be hosting an event this Friday that we'll talk about as well. So make a short run to the refrigerator, a shorter run to the bathroom. But whatever you do, be back here in about 60 seconds, because we're going to have some really important information for you. And I'm going to tell you my first experience in getting scammed.
Publish your legal notice in West Side Story newspaper. For the best service and the best rates, call 909-384-8131. Publishing legal notices in the city and county of San Bernardino since 1990. West Side Story provides friendly expert service. Call 909-384-8131 to benefit from budget-friendly rates. Whether a fictitious business name, a name change, a divorce summons, or any other legal or public notice, call West Side Story newspaper 909-384-8131. 909-384-8131. That's 909-384-8131.
We are back. This is Empire Talks Back. I'm Wallace Allen. We just talked a little bit about Fort Lauderdale, and it's a terrible situation. Big floods, big rains, houses totally destroyed, waterlogged, going to be full of mold. You're not going to be able to live there. But one of the things that I can assure you of is that yesterday, moments after the flood, there were people out there getting phone calls and making phone calls, telling folks how they can come and fix the house, how they can come and do things that are going to make your life better. Some of those folks are telling the truth. Some of them are scammers. And after disasters, after catastrophes, just as there are people like Deborah Williams there to help, there are people like Gui there to rip you off. And you got to figure out how to avoid the ripoff. I was a young man working at a teen post. I don't know, I was about 16, 17, maybe 18. And I was working with a teen post in South Central on Slauson, as a matter of fact. And a guy came by the teen post one day and said, "You guys don't have a TV in here, do you?" I said, "Well, no, we don't." He said, "Man, I got a TV. I'd like to donate a TV to you guys. It's really a nice TV, but, get $50 and I'll get this TV over to you. You guys will have a TV for the kids here." I said, "I don't know. Just come back and we'll talk about it." "Well, I don't think I can wait on this TV very long, so you need to find out pretty quick." So I remember I said, "Well, I'm going to call Miss Estes." That was the lady who was in charge. I gave her a call. I said, "This guy's over here says he can get us a TV for $50. And she said, "Well, Wallace, I'll tell you what. I'm going to give you the $50, but you need to go with him to get that TV." "Oh, no problem. I'll do that." Young, enthusiastic. Plus, I had a nice little car to ride in. And so I'm riding. The man takes me about, I don't know, about a mile and a half away. I'm following him in his car. We get to the building, and he says, "Well, it's in here. Give me the $50. I said, "Well, no, I need to go in there with you to look at the TV." He says, "Oh, man, here's going to leave my car. I ain't going nowhere. Here's my car." I said, "Okay," and I gave him the $50. And if it hadn't gotten dark, I'd probably still be there looking at his car waiting for him to come out. Oh, man, I felt so bad. I said, "What happened?" And, the little kids at the teen post, when they heard her, they said, "Oh, Mr. Allen, you got ripped off. Yeah, we could have told you that." I said, "Man, I'll tell you what, never happened to me again." And it hasn't, not like that, but I've had some strange phone calls, and I've had some bills on my card that I didn't actually put in there, but thank goodness PayPal and the bank helped me straighten it out. Deborah, as we look at the catastrophes and things that you work on, how true is that statement I made about these criminals and crooks and rip-off artists showing up almost as quickly as you do with your help?
It's incredibly true, unfortunately. And not only the scams to help people repair their houses or their businesses, but the scams around donating money for what people call worthy causes, right?
Now, I didn't want. Let's not make this political.
No.
I wasn't trying to hear about Mr. Trump's fundraising things of that sort.
No.
So this is not a political thing here, right?
No, this is not political at all.
Okay.
I mean, I can tell you of literally even here in the local area where a resident or a community leader supposedly was collecting money for the disaster that had happened in that area, and people gave money, but it actually never went to the community. that's the stuff that I'm talking about. And so even in being prepared for a disaster, you need to know what are the trusted sources of information so that when a disaster does strike, we and other agencies will always say, give money to a vetted, a trusted agency. And many times those organizations will be listed, publicly listed. Because, there's always going to be somebody who comes out of the woodwork who's willing to take your money
Right.
of a kind-hearted person who just wants to help somebody.
Yep. I know a lady that I'm married to. And she keeps money to give away.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I kind of support that in that.
For my actress.
Well, you can see people who need things.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's probably somebody out there who's willing to wake up in their nice house and go spread some dirt on themselves and some raggedy clothes and walk out and beg and don't need the money. But I think those are far in between.
Yeah.
So if I see somebody on the corner, I see somebody that, and she doesn't want to drive past anybody that's in need. So I have to yield to that. I try to be a little more. But then many of the people that I see in need, it's strange to me that if you look at them, and I look at them hard, they tend to have Jesus's face.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't not give Jesus some money, So everybody doesn't impress me that way, but I will have to say this, half the people that I see make me feel like that's Jesus watching me to see what I'm going to do. And I want to help. But as you're stating, there's businesses that have made and kept good reputations for helping people in need. And it's a good thing to support those organizations. We'll say things, and sometimes maybe the executive directors are making more money than we think they should. But you should go to a board meeting and say something about that, not just cut off their ability to do things by you not contributing. So, what are your thoughts about how people should analyze who they should give money to, how they should give it, and what does building resilient communities do to help support those thoughts?
Yeah. Typically, even without a disaster, you can go to especially some of the government websites that already have vetted nonprofits. There's a wide network of agencies called VOAD, which is Voluntary Organizations Active in Disaster, and which Building Resilient Communities is a member of, both in San Bernardino and in Riverside County. And those are all agencies that are part of the system, the emergency management system. We are the ones that are working with the local to federal government on any types of disasters. We are the ones that are going to be allowed into the disaster area when something does happen. And so, those are agencies that it's safe to give money to. Sometimes when a disaster strikes, something like a group like the United Way will say, they will act as, say, the fiscal sponsor, and where people can donate their money to the United Way, and knowing that it's going to specifically be used for that particular disaster. Sometimes it's the city or the town that will collect the money for a local disaster. So people just need to go to, in like San Bernardino County, the Office of Emergency Services website.
And as you donate, is it possible to assign your money to a specific situation?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And these agencies aren't just taking money on a regular basis for no reason. These are, what I'm talking about are emergency funds, right? But on a regular basis, the community-based organizations and the faith-based organizations that are out helping on all the time on a daily basis, we all need funding.
Right.
And I know that Building Resilient Communities, we get donations from individuals, and they'll just go on our website. We have a donate link on there, and they know what we're doing and why we're doing it, and they will donate money. And then there's other times when we're having an event and maybe an agency, or a government entity or a business will help sponsor the event that we're putting on.
Right. Let me ask this. As you said that many of these organizations, as they come into a collaboration, they are vetted.
Mm-hmm.
In that vetting, I guess the question is, are they inspected by the state? Are there taxes?
Yeah.
Are they examined or audited to see if they're spending their money correctly? Is that part of the vetting?
Well, you know what? It depends on how large the organization is. Every nonprofit, just like individuals have to do tax returns and businesses have to do tax returns, a nonprofit is, it's a nonprofit, but we still have a tax status, and we still have to turn in a tax return, what is called a 990 tax return. And so the federal government and the state government, they're looking at, what money our revenue and our expenses. It's really no different. And the ones that
I beg to differ with you. It's rougher.
Well,
the nonprofit has to show a lot more information than the profit does.
Well, I will tell you, when I was going to mention our funders, if you are getting funding, whether it's from a non-governmental entity or a government entity, regardless of local to, federal, there is a lot of paperwork
yes.
To it. Even if they want to give you $5,000, you might be filling out some serious reports in order to get that. Money.
Compliance. Are you complying with the?
Absolutely.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
By line item. If we say and if we say you can have this, I'll make it simple, $10, for mileage to send somebody to work an event, we want to know that we want to see the expense report that shows that mileage. We want to see the check that you paid that person for that mileage. Yes, you're right. There is a lot of paperwork.
Very good. Now, as we were talking about, and scamming is important to help people prevent, there's two things I want to know. One, what will be in that emergency bag that you're going to give me?
I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to surprise you.
Well, I'm asking because others out there listening need to know what needs to go in their bag.
Okay, so now you talked about you don't even have one in your car.
Man.
So let's just start there, right? So, in your car, and I'll speak to the women for just a minute. Those of you who still wear heels and really cute shoes, please have a pair of flats in your car, and closed-toed flats, so that if you have to get out and walk, that you can walk, right? And have some water, have a blanket.
Well, I've got water and a blanket. Okay.
Well, then you're doing pretty good. Okay, you need to have an emergency kit. You need to have, something that says you need help, some kind of signage, jumper cables. Some of this is is common sense, but I know today, common sense is not always common.
Yeah, ain't nothing common about common sense. My grandmother said it, and it's still true.
Right.
Because I don't have the common things in my car that we should.
Yeah, have a jacket, even if it's in the summer. Just have a coat in your car. Just different kinds of things that can help. A flashlight. Something as simple as a flashlight,
and
a car charger.
Doesn't do a lot of good to have a bunch of canned food in there if you don't have a can opener.
Right. Well, in today's environment, yes, you need to have canned food. That's something.
Well, even in the
at
car.
home.
What I saw take place up in Big Bear.
Yeah.
With the snow, people had to stay in their cars for a couple of days in some cases.
Yeah. Yes.
The people that are caught away from home in Fort Lauderdale were probably better off than the ones who were caught at home.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the stores are closed. There's no place to go get anything. So if so you probably do want to keep a couple of days of meals available. I've heard about people caught in the mountains and they lived on a couple of candy bars and things of that sort. So
exactly that's Wallace. That's exactly what I was going to say. Other people are like me. I'm sure they go to Starbucks. And so I often get that little packet that's got little small packets of peanut butter in it, right?
Yeah.
And I don't typically eat them right away, but I throw those in my purse. I keep them in my car.
I'll remember that if I get hungry and we're someplace together.
Now, the other thing I have in my car, and this may seem silly, but a bag of potato chips. Something that's going to give you some kind of energy. You talked about people getting lost and having a candy bar.
I have to interrupt you. Your event is this Friday.
Uh-huh.
It's a fundraiser?
No, it is not a fundraiser.
It's a FUN raiser? Fun?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, it is a true appreciation breakfast. And the reason it's our first annual Faith Leaders Appreciation Breakfast. And we decided to do this because of what we saw happen with COVID. And
we've got 60 seconds. Tell people how they can join you at that breakfast.
They can go on our website and they can register on the website. And our website is www.b like boy, R like Robert, C Charlie, U, S like Sam.org.
Building Resilient Communities. What's the rest of that stand for?
United States.
Building Resilient Communities, UnitedStates.com or .org?
.org.
Building Resilient Communities, UnitedStates.org. Give it a holler, folks, and support the breakfast and support Deborah and me by getting something in your trunk in your car that'll help you survive in case of something unexpected happening. God bless you, Deborah, for what you're doing. Quickest hour on radio. I wish we had more time to talk. I know I told you I'd only keep you a couple of minutes, and it depends on how you define couple of. All right, we did it. God bless you. Thank you very much. See you Friday morning, Miss Deborah, and see you guys next week. Same time, same station, if the good Lord's willing and the creek don't rise. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Mood Master.
I know you refuse to be held down anymore.
KCAA Loma Linda. The Legacy KCAA 1050 AM and Express 106.5 FM.
The information and opinions you hear on the Del Walmsley radio show are those of the host, Del Walmsley, his guests, and his callers, and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of this station, its affiliates, its management, or advertisers. The Del Walmsley show is for entertainment purposes only. Please consult a professional